fatigue over in the chat.
Yeah. Interesting.
Should we go ahead and get started?
We probably should.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Yes.
Welcome everybody. We're very glad to have you here this afternoon and joining us. And this is thanks to KWLA, your statewide organization, helping you get through this crisis and helping ourselves get through it too. We got this idea from the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Foreign Language Association. They've been doing it for a while. And we want to invite you to become members if you are not already of KWLA, because it's free membership for the new members now. So tell everybody, all of your friends who are not yet members, if they'd like to join. It's free until May 30th. I think that's correct.
May 15th.
May 15th. Okay.
And you might have gotten this email regardless of if you've ever been a member. I sent it to active and inactive members, but you definitely want to sign up for that active membership because it's going to get you discount on our fall conference. You can come to Showcase next spring. So lots of benefits of joining.
Right. And I'm Jacque Van Houten, and that was Jennifer Kennedy. And Jennifer, would you like to just go ahead and start us off on the program today?
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm Jennifer Kennedy. I'm a preschool through 5th grade Spanish teacher in Lexington, Kentucky, and also the KWA Communications Director. Helping us out today, or moderating with me, is Jacque Van Houten, our KWA Past-Presiden. Go ahead and put your a short introduction, who you are, what you teach, your email in the chat. We are recording today so that for people who couldn't join us can access that later. We recorded Tuesday's session as well. I was figuring out how to edit those on YouTube this morning. That was my project. So as soon as I get those edited, I will send out an email with a link to the recordings. But so if you don't want your face recorded, it's okay to not have your video on. Just really quickly, our norms for today. This is a place for us to network, share. We've got, looks like 22 people on at the moment. So just try to stay, we only have less than an hour, so please try to stay on topic. Keep your comments short when you're sharing. You just be aware that, there's a lot of us on here that want to talk. And just try to stay positive. I know it's hard. We get tired and frustrated, but we're trying to use these as a place to kind of lift us up and support each other and encourage each other. So those are the norms for today. Did you want to add anything to that, Jacque, or?
No.
Okay. I need more coffee. I can't remember if I've hit everything. And then, so we're going to be talking today about how to address all 3 modes of communication during NTI. That's interpretive, which is your reading and listening, presentational, which is speaking and writing, and then your interpersonal, which is having a kind of back and forth conversation. So that could be in person like we're doing today. It could be texting. I think we use the term asynchronous interpersonal on Tuesday, where it's a little bit not in real time, but you're still responding back and forth to one another. So just making sure we kind of hit all of those. We've got 2 quick speakers. They're not going to talk for very long, but we have 2 Teacher of the Years. Catherine Del Valle was the KWA Teacher of the Year 2018. And we have this year's 2019 KWA Teacher of the Year and also 2020 SCOLT Teacher of the Year. So she's going to be representing the Southeast region and Kentucky at ACTFL this year, Elena. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about what she's doing with her students that's a little bit low tech. So Catherine's going to present something that's a little more high tech. So hopefully we'll kind of hit both high and low tech for you today. Then we're going to break out in some breakout rooms and have about 10 minutes to chat in small groups, and then we'll come back and share all together. So that's sort of the plan. Jump in and jump out as you need to. Why don't we start with, I don't know, Elena or Catherine, who wants to go first? Why don't we start
I
with
can go.
Elena? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with
Let's go
Elena.
with Elena. Low tech.
Okay.
Low tech. All right. Did you want me to do practice diary today?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. So let's see if I am able to share my screen.
You should be able to. If not, let me know.
Yeah. All right. So what is this? I don't know what that is. Okay. So something that I noticed like right away with the second week of online instruction was the backslide for all of my students in all levels of Japanese was enormous. Like just bloop. It was almost like the first day they had come back after summer break. Like all of a sudden they didn't understand what I was saying. They couldn't say what I was saying. So there's an assignment I give them during the year. And I call it the practice diary. So like this is the first year version. Okay. And so I give it to them either weekly or bi-weekly, depending on like what's going on that week. And it's real straightforward. Read something in Japanese. One thing I understood was, one thing I didn't understand was. Watch something. Listen to something. Done. All right, and then on the back of this is a handout I give them. I give them like, here, try these search terms on YouTube. You'll get something interesting. Like I suggest some Japanese sports that maybe they haven't seen live, like karate or kendo, judo. Animal names, I still search for a cute puppy, search for a cute cat, search for Shiba Inu. Or Kyono Wanko. I told them search for Kyono Wanko, which is something that the Daily NHK News does. It's literally today's puppy. And they've been doing it for 15 years. And there's a bunch of Kyono Wanko on YouTube. And I tell them search for commercials, news, weather, search for trailers, other resources I give them. So this is first year level. Look for Japanese artists or celebrities on Twitter. Here's the Japanese news site with audio for listening, and folktales with no kanji because they're freaked out when they see the Chinese characters. Recipes, mobile games, Shota Sensei for approval. And then I have stuff in the classroom they can borrow or take home, which doesn't apply now. But in the school year, they can do that. And then for second year, it gets a little bit more, it's still pretty basic. Now they have to do interpersonal, talk to someone. And then for that, if they don't want to do it during the school day or in class or online, I give them some resources like the chat apps that I know have Japanese, like Hello Talk, Bilingua, Hi Native, Tandem, and they can use me. I'm like, if you want to talk to me in Japanese, you can email me, hit me up on Twitter in Japanese. I respond to you. We'll count that as interpersonal. And then for the third years and fourth years, I give the same to fourth years. Theirs goes, first they have to do speaking practice, and I say date, who did you speak to, your aite, something I didn't understand, something I couldn't communicate. And then typing, because for third and fourth years, I really hit them on, you have to practice typing so that you don't type like a baby. Same thing, something I didn't understand, something I couldn't communicate, and did you use a QWERTY keyboard? I might remove this question because starting next year, we're not going to be doing AP Japanese in my school, but this was more to prepare them for AP Japanese. Like you have to practice on a QWERTY keyboard because you have to take the AP test with the QWERTY keyboard. And the kids that have been like doing it on their phone don't know how to do that.
And why aren't you going to be doing the AP next year?
A lot of reasons, and maybe we can save that for another session. But
okay,
we're going to be doing Japanese 4 instead of AP, is what it comes down to.
Well.
And then reading, so source, article, URL. Summarize in English what you read, something you didn't understand. Listening, summarize in English what you read, something you didn't understand. And then they have, here's some vocabulary that I learned using a sentence. So ideally vocabulary they learned either in class that week or from something that they read or watched or listened. And then free practice. Free practice is like, I played 15 billion hours on my mobile game with Japanese text. Go for it. You know, something, anything. Or like some of my kids that really want to like read something, they can just read more of it or do more of something.
So
Right,
is this something that you sent home, like with them in their like NTI packets, or you assigned them?
So I assigned it to them regularly throughout the school year. And then the day that school closed, I assigned this to them. I'm like, you have to do 2 of these during like the 3-week period that school was closed. And then the decision came from on high, like you cannot require them to do work during the 3-week of closure. So I'm like, okay, it's extra credit now. And then the first week of NTI, I really sort of like, I pulled back on everything and I only gave them like 1 assignment. And now what I've started doing is they only have 1 required assignment per week, but I'm still sticking these into their NTI like weekly. And I'm like, at this point, it's extra credit, but I strongly encourage you to do it because it keeps them engaged. It lets them choose how they want to interact with the language. And sometimes, you know, it's just exposure. That's all it is. And when I grade these in class, it's never, ever, ever a proficiency grade. It's either you did it or you didn't do it. And, you know, by Japanese 3, there are, oh, I can stop the share, I'm sorry. You know, by Japanese 3, there are some students who are like going to do these and they're going to do like level 1 Japanese every single week just so they can get the points. And I'm like, you know, oh, well, you're spending time on it and not getting anything out of it. That's on you. So ideally it should be appropriate for their level, but I don't police that because if they decide to waste their time, then they decide to waste their time.
Yeah. I like that it's free though. Their choice. They get to decide what they're going to look at and engage with. So awesome. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts? Throw them in the chat or unmute and ask Elena. So this is a way for them to get interpretive and presentational for sure. Do you ever have them like actually write a response to what they've read or saw, or to make it more presentational?
No, I just, because it does take some time to grade them. So normally it's just like the little, like, tell me that you understood what you saw.
Yeah.
So.
But you could add, so thinking of expanding that out, you could easily add a section where they had to write a response, whether just they liked it, what they liked, you know.
Yeah.
What happened. So you're then taking it from interpretive to presentational.
Right.
So you're hitting 2 of those modes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elena, to what extent do you grade them on the can-dos or on performance-based grading with the ACTFL scale? I mean, are the units that you're using, I don't know if you want to call them units, set according to a proficiency target?
Yes, they are. And so, like I said, these are never, ever, ever like a proficiency-based grade. This is just, you do it. Stuff that I grade like for progression or mastery is always like proficiency-based. So the tension there, and something that I haven't been able to resolve, is that, like, you know, when the students have the freedom to do this, some of them will never practice anything related to what we're working on in class. And that's one of the things I've kind of had to zen about. Because at first I tried to wrangle it into like, oh, I'm going to limit it to, you have to do like, you know, if we're doing restaurants in class, then your reading has to be a restaurant review. But I'm like, no, if I want them to read a restaurant review, I will assign that as part of like the class unit. This has to be more like, just freaking expose yourself to the language, like something, do something.
Do they want you to give feedback? Do they ask for feedback?
Sometimes with something I didn't understand, I always try to write down what it is. And if it's something especially funny or weird, I usually go find the source and I steal it for myself.
Yeah, that's true. You're using them to curate sources for you in a way.
Yeah.
Elena, we have a question in the chat. If you would you be willing to share the template with us?
Yes, what would be the best way to do that?
Why don't you email me the probably just the level 1, since most of us I think
Okay.
on here don't teach Japanese.
Well, I
Um,
have an English version of the level 3. Do you want me to send you that?
yeah, so whatever you
Yeah,
want
I
to
have
send.
to. I realized that after I showed you the
No,
Japanese version.
it's
I did
fine.
make an English version. Sorry. All right, I will send that email to you right
And
now.
then I'll put it in the Google Drive folder where I'm putting the chats and the videos and any other resources that we share during those. So I'll send out
Okay.
an email that has a link to that Google Drive, hopefully this weekend. Ben, you have a question, Hawkins?
Elena, I heard you mention a few apps that will help with interpersonal. What were those again?
Oh, okay. I have to actually look at it. So the one, like, again, there's more. So I only listed the ones that I know for sure have Japanese. So I know there's more out there. They are Hello Talk, Bilingua, Hi Native, and that's HINATIV, like all one word, and Tandem.
Wait, do you mind to copy those into the chat when you get a second?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
So I heard about
Yes.
Hello Talk. Bilingua, is that what you said?
Bilingual.
Yeah, she's
Why
going to
is-
put it in the chat.
I am trying to figure out how to why. Okay. Hold on. Sorry, just having
No,
technical-
just
You can
sometime
do it
before
later.
we end the video.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we're gonna thank you so much, Elena. I love practice diary. I like how it gives the student, like, you know, they're in your class for a reason. So this is how they get to kind of explore the language, watching and reading what they want to read. We're gonna now have Catherine. She's gonna show us something a little bit more high tech. Elena was our low tech paper option. And Catherine is going to show us something a little bit more high tech with Flipgrid.
Okay, so I use Flipgrid quite a bit in my classes, and it's worked pretty well outside for this time. Luckily for NTI days, my school was one of the first ones to be able to start using NTI a few years ago, so we've got used to it. So it's nothing new for us when they said we were going on NTI days. Flipgrid can be used for interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational uses. It's free, and so you can, all you've got to do is log on. It is a user-friendly teaching tool. It can be used across all grade levels, academic disciplines, and learners. If some of you have used it or not, I'm not sure. And like I said, it is free. Now, some classroom integrations. Number one, for interpretive, and I'm going to do this a little fast so that we can get a little bit with Flipgrid onto the website. You can watch a video. You can have, or I should say, you can have the kids watch video. You can upload a video to it, and then you can have them answer questions. They will, and basically the kids are videotaping themselves, and then they are responding to whatever it is you're asking. You could also even read a story to them and have them answer questions about it. You can apply things like Edpuzzle to it with a video, and then they just have to, give you that answer. But the thing is, they're using the language, the target language is being used by the students. Interpersonally, you can ask them. I videotaped myself a couple times asking questions, just simple questions. You can have the students respond either to your question, or you can even have the students respond to each other. This is where we got the asynchronous, interpersonal, answering. So they have their own conversation. It's just not at the same time. It's just asynchronously. And then presentationally, they could tell you a story. They could present information about themselves, whether it's a beginning class and they tell you their name, how old they are, where they live, even to the upper levels. They could describe something, or they could give you their opinion about something. So it works across all levels, and depending upon what it is you want them to do with it. Now I'm going to let me switch this out. And there it is. Okay. What I have done is I have set up a grid. So this is my Flipgrid page that you see. And so I have set up a topic to say hello. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this code with you. If you see it on the page, I'm going to have you just, if Jen, if you'll type that into the chat for me. And what I would like you to do is I would like each one of you to go ahead after this PD and just say hello, tell us who you are, tell us what you teach, share something that is working for you right now during this time. And what we will be able to do then is we will all be able to see each other's video to say hello, and this way we will have everything recorded. And it's as simple as that. Basically what you're doing is, you know, you're going in here, you're setting this up. These things all allow you for your classes. Notice this is your view, teacher view. So you're going to put your title in here. You're going to tell them how long do you want them to record for. Flipgrid actually raised the limit to 10 minutes now. So you can have them record as low as 15 seconds all the way up to 10 minutes. I use this for my AP kids. I get them used to recording themselves for 2 minutes at a time, and I kind of build them up, and it's a good way for them to learn what 2 minutes is about. A lot of them will say, man, that was too fast, or my gosh, it took so long. It allows you to put in your own, yes?
Is there a password that they have to know? Or do we have to log in?
I think all they have to do is log in and set up their own account.
Okay.
I don't think I set it up with a password. Let me see.
That we just got that question in the chat, so we should be good.
Okay. Yeah, you should just use that link. It's going to allow you to upload your own video. It's very friendly user. You can do it on your phone. You can have your kids do it on a phone by downloading the app on their phone, or on a computer. As long as they have that camera and mic ability, it's really easy. It allows you to type. It allows you to upload if it's let's say a document, you want them with instructions, or let's say you want them to go to certain places, you can do that. And the nice thing is here, student to student, if I didn't want you to reply to somebody else's video, then I can just lock that down, or I can leave it open. Video moderation, if you don't want, let's say, your students to see each other's videos, sometimes, you know, maybe a kid's shy, and it works really well for those kids who are shy and don't want to speak in class, then you can click on this and then they can't see each other's answers. I've used this for exams, so I will hide it so they don't see each other's videos. And then of course, your status, you can make it active, frozen, or hidden. Frozen just means that they can't add to it anymore. So that means if, let's say you put this for Monday to Friday, they have 5 days to put their answer in there or their video up or whatever it is, it'll freeze and then they can't. So I've gotten quite a few times, I'll get an email from a student that says, I can't get my Flipgrid done. And I'll say, let me see what the problem is. And then I realize, oh, wait, it's frozen. You didn't get it in on time. So it works really well for that as well. And then it allows them to do little things like they can put their own little, selfie emoticons, all those little things. I have a couple here where, just to go back to my page, my students had to do just a simple question since they wanted us to make it so simple. It allows you to divide all your classes. So like this was the PD that we just did just today. I have my APs, my Spanish 1s, 2, 3 by period. So this way there is no, hey, I put mine in this. It goes directly. It allows you to share it directly to Google Classroom as well. It's a great tool. Simply, ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te sientes? I gave them that simple question, told them to do that. Notice I put my little, headphones on. It gives you all those little options at the end. The kids love it because they have to snap a picture of themselves, and, it gives them a little fun thing to do. Also with Flipgrid, one of the great things is called Grid Pals. Grid Pals, when you're, I guess later on when we get back into a classroom, you can use this. You can set this up, you have your own free account, and you can activate, you set it up as active, and you can allow other educators from around the world, Okay, and they put down what subjects they teach, as you can see. You can choose somebody, you send them an email. Hey, would you like to chat with my students? And what they can do is if they say yes, then you set it up, whatever project you're doing. Of course, they would have their students videotape. You could have your students videotape, and then you can have this conversation asynchronously, of course, which helps because, you know, if you're chatting with students from Spain, let's say, you know, they're on a different time zone and they might not be in school when you are. So it helps.
Can you go
All right,
back
so
up
I'm gonna
to the one that we're having some issues getting on. Can you go back and show
Sure.
this code? I might have written it down wrong. It sounds like some people are having trouble. It's asking for a, oh, you know what? Part of it, I couldn't find it because
here if you want to copy this, there's a QR code on here. You can get it from that. You're
I
online.
also typed it in wrong. That's my bad. Sorry, guys. Okay.
Because you can type this flipgrid.com / it's a 0 AAA BA78.
3 A's.
3 A's.
Yeah, it is asking for a password.
It is okay. Let me see what the password is. Because this should be, it should just be directly on here. And then you should be able to log in. But let me see if there's a password with it. Oh. Here's the guest. Allow guests to record. Okay. Here's the guest one for guests.
Can you will it
Flipgrid.
create a link? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
131-653-6B. And it is, you know, once you give this to your students, you know, they're the ones that have that link. So it's really hard for anybody else to get into it, as you can see.
Yeah, when I do this, if you notice, there's a Google Classroom link.
Yes, right here.
You can share on Google Classroom. I copy that link, and then my kiddos just log in using their Google
accounts. Yeah, you have to have a Google or Microsoft account to do this.
When I set up a board, Flipgrid board, I usually type in the email address domain. Mine is like eminence.kwschools.us, and they have two. I have to make sure I cover all of those bases. It makes it really easy. And then when I've done a collaboration, I had to figure out those students is, you know, if you want to keep it like really secure and not use like the guest mode. And sometimes I accidentally just put theirs and don't put mine, and then I have trouble accessing it from their end. So normally if we all had the same domain, this would be a very simple process.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what the guest mode is for.
I had never used that. That's good that that's there.
Now that's making me wonder if that's why I haven't gotten many responses on my grid, if kids are having trouble accessing it and not just letting me know.
Yeah, when you first set up your students, you have to make sure you do that.
That's good to know.
Because I only allow them to use like their school email address.
Yeah.
This way they're not using a home address or a home, you know, it's only through the school email.
Awesome.
Did everybody get that? I'm going to close this out here. All right. So, see.
Does anyone have any questions for Catherine or before we split into our groups?
There.
I have a question real quick. Have you had some success really like getting a group from another country like gung-ho about communicating with your kids? I've gotten hopes up a lot with my kids, and we'll start out great and then it'll kind of fall apart and they just don't follow through anymore.
Yeah, a lot of times it does happen. It always starts off, woo, yay. And I think that's just with anything. You know, I've had other groups where I've done this with, and you really have to have another, the other educator has to be like just as gung-ho to keep going with it, depending upon how long you're going to do it for.
I do know that Laura Sexton at Eastern, Madeline Sexton at Eastern, a Spanish teacher, has done this a lot with students in Ecuador, I think in Quito. And she's had pretty good success with it.
Yeah, you have to find the right connection.
The other idea might be even to start with Spanish immersion classes and then, go from there. Someone asked, are your Flipgrids public, Catherine?
No, all my Flipgrids are private because I want to make sure that the students, obviously with privacy things, only would they become public if I had the permission of school and of course of the student to be able to use it. But they're all private, and it allows for those students who are in, if you're going around and you are doing your interpersonal in class, there might be that kid who is so shy they won't speak in class. And so it gives them the option of being able to show you that they can use the language. And you're taking that into account, that they are maybe they are the shy kid who's just terrified of speaking in front of other people. So you're taking that part into, to understand that part of them. And so by giving this, I have had a lot of students who would normally not speak in class, and I can see that they can do it by doing this.
And when you said Laura Sexton, that made me think there is a Laura Sexton in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And she has tried, I don't know how many people she's gotten to post, but she started a Flipgrid at one point where she was trying to get Spanish teachers and native speakers that she knew to actually record about different subjects, so that then her students could have this whole grid of people who were not, novice at the same novice level they were at, but were higher, that they could kind of interact with. So I'll try to find her link. That's just for Spanish, but it could be a possibility if you speak another language to try to reach out to some other educators that you knew. If you're struggling to get like maybe a classroom started, to maybe start with some other adults first to make short videos and then kind of go from there.
And it doesn't have to be anything, you don't have to do a lot of major stuff, just one question. If you wanted them to, you can ask them one question. How are you? Start off with a level 1, or what is your name? It's also a great way, as opposed to sitting in class and, you're given an exam, right? So if you got to go every kid, right? How long does that take? Because then you got to give the rest of the students something else to do, correct? And in this case, you don't. You can just have them record the answer. Everybody's recording their answer, or you have them record from home. I usually tell mine, I want to see your eyes, and I can tell if you're reading, because, you can see if somebody's reading. And so a lot of them have learned not to read. I tell them, if you want to write something down and you want to memorize it, fine, and then say it to me. You need to say it where you're looking at the camera. I can see your eyes. And then afterwards, you can put the funny hats or the glasses on or whatever you want, for your picture.
We have some other questions in the chat. Lee Chen, she's asking how to invite students to the Flipgrid. After you create it, it'll say share. And there's a place for you to either give them the link or a QR code, or if they're on Google Classroom, you can click that icon and it will share it to Google Classroom for you. Yeah, that share button. Right.
Here's the share button. So when you click on that, you can share it via however you want. You can share it via Remind. You can share it via Google Classroom. Microsoft Teams gives you now. Or you can just copy the code and put it into an email if you're going to send it to them through email, or show it on the screen, and then they would just basically type that, or they even give you the QR codes.
Yeah. And then it looks like Ed commented that it can get a little rehearsed and not spontaneous. So what kind of activities would you recommend for spontaneous speaking?
Well, sometimes what you can do, if you're in a classroom setting, if you're in a normal classroom setting, you give them you say, okay, you guys have 15 seconds. Record your answer. You know, you don't give them any time to write anything down. If you do assign it, like right now where you're assigning it at home, yes, your answers could possibly be rehearsed. But at least they are using the language. You know, yes, they're going to parrot things. If you have an upper level class, though, you can ask them their opinions, get their opinion, but it is practice. So it's better than not having them, use the language at all to speak. I mean, we have to look at it that way. If you're in class, yeah, you can give them the topic. Here's the topic. You have 15 seconds, go. You know, they don't have a book in front of them or anything else. They just have to record what they can.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that here in a minute too. So if anyone doesn't have any other comments or questions for Catherine, thank you for presenting on Flipgrid. I'm excited to make my post. So the plan now is, so we're getting some questions. That question about spontaneous speaking segues us perfectly into our next thing, which is kind of, we've seen a low tech option, we've seen a high tech option for some hitting several modes. So we have, let's see, 23 people on here right now. So I'm sure you all have ideas and things that you're doing in your classrooms that are working, or your classrooms that are working at the moment. So we're going to take about 10 minutes or so, not much longer than that, and split into smaller breakout rooms and just chat about how are you addressing all three modes. So how are you doing interpretive? How are you doing presentational? How are you doing interpersonal? What are your challenges? What are your successes? And kind of just talk things out in your groups. So that means I need to put you in breakout rooms. Let's see. We're gonna do about 5 rooms, so it gives us about 4 to 5 people per room. So that gives you kind of enough people to draw on, but everyone should get a chance to share and talk. So, and then I'll be hopping around and checking on you. We're gonna come back at about 3:50, 3:51. So about 10 minutes to chat, okay? And you'll just accept the invitation to go to the room. We'll see you in a minute. So go ahead and accept the invitation to the room. We got a couple people.
And Jennifer Kennedy.
Hola.
Hola, I'm just talking around. Bonjour.
Bonjour, Jennifer. Chapeau.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
What ideas do we have you been using in your classroom? Or actually, not in your classroom. I should say, what ideas have you been using at home for your students in their homes?
Which mode should we like? Should we focus on one mode first or something?
Yeah, we can start with interpretive. How's that?
The easiest one, I think. Interpretive and presentational aren't too difficult.
I'm afraid that's all I've been able to accomplish is presentational and interpretive modes, mainly because I have kind of, I've not used Zoom. I haven't used Zoom to do a live session with my students yet, or to have like class per se. And mainly because, I mean, I keep looking at what a lot of you guys are doing, and I'm of course amazed and all of it, but my district has basically discouraged me to go foolhardy and give the students a lot of and work that will engage them. I hate to put it that way, but frankly, we were told, when we went on this, that to not expect much, and to also to be very lenient, which of course we've all experienced a lack of participation on some level. Even those who plan all these great engaging activities and hold sessions online with your kids to engage further, it's you're still going to get some kids who are not going to engage. So my principal basically, after a few weeks in, told us that we're not grading the work, we're just pass fail this fourth 9 weeks. And and she even told us, we don't have a way to put that in an infinite campus. She said, you're not even putting an infinite campus. So what does that even mean? I guarantee you that got around to some of the kids, and they've talked to each other, and that's further discouraged that some of them to actually do anything, So at this point, I've just
we are seeing each other. Like, for the rest of the activities, it's really hard to maintain that cooperative structure.
Well, Maria, do you have a hard time scheduling that, getting students to schedule at that certain time?
No, not really. Means I made up the groups and shared the information with the parents. And since it is very established, it's like Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 10:30. Okay. They are keeping that in mind. But I know these are elementary kids, so I don't know if that is make it easy to the parents. So they are for half an hour with me, and they don't have to be monitored them. So I don't know if.
Well, one of the challenges that we have had is that when we knew that we had to spend the rest of the semester online, some of our students had to go out and get jobs to help their families. Mm-hmm. And so that blew my plan of saying, okay, Tuesday at 10 o'clock, we're all going to meet together, because some of them were at work. And we kind of had to, we had to allow this, the students just had to do that. Mm-hmm. And so some of them didn't have any synchronous time for the rest of the semester. It would just everything asynchronous. And I feel like they did miss out. They did miss out by not having that synchronous practice like we would normally have. And I just don't know. I don't know what we, could have done about that.
I don't know. Sometimes it's really hard. What my big concern about all of this is that gap between kids that are ahead and kids that cannot reach their level. This situation is making it really hard for that gap. So
yeah, we're gonna have to do a lot of differentiation.
But even though, because a lot of that differentiation or that gap is family support, is time to sit down and do the things, is a lot of facts that we cannot control.
Yeah.
So
well, for me, mine has been like school, from the school even. I teach elementary too, but completely different context from Maria, in that I'm special area, and they've said, oh, special area is optional because they're only allowed to work, little kids, an hour a day on their schoolwork, an hour and a half for 3rd through 5th graders. So like if they get time to do special area, that's fine. Well, guess what? They're not really choosing Spanish. They're choosing art. They're choosing music. They're doing the PE options. And I do my best. I've had some feedback where, people, it's always the kids you don't expect that are suddenly very engaged in doing things. But yeah, I mean, I'm just counting it as lost time in my mind, I'm thinking, I've done the best that I can. I've given the things that I can give. Do I go back? I'm going to probably have to go back and reteach my 4th quarter units that first quarter next year. Luckily, I have them for 6 years continuously, so I can do that. But, it is what it is.
or keep this way because we don't know what is going to
Well,
be
yeah,
tomorrow.
exactly.
Oh my gosh,
That's
yeah.
the thing. I think
No.
right now we're doing completely asynchronous because we don't want to overwhelm families. But now that I'm talking to more and more people, I'm thinking like I have to offer some synchronous, even if not everyone can join. Just for me, just to see their faces, just for them to have some practice. Make it optional, but just give them the option of doing it.
I think we need to find a balance between the synchronous and the asynchronous, because I was able to put together some higher quality asynchronous work for them and they really enjoyed it. And I think I sat at your table, by the way, Lydia Collier, at the and I've just been overwhelmed with my planning levels this entire year because I got 4 different preps constantly. It's just running me ragged. The level's high, and I'm used to teaching college classes that I've been teaching for a while. So anyway, this is a new level. But now this meeting, we meet twice a week synchronously, and I'm just chasing after them for the asynchronous work the whole time, more or less. Like, guys, you have to turn this in. But I feel it's going to be a key if we're going to continue doing this to find a balance between those two, because I agree that you would need them both. So if usually I'm accustomed to being able to pull guys into, and I keep saying guys because I have all boys, I'm used to being able to pull guys into my homeroom, etc., to allow them to work on things. And right now I don't have that option because they get hopelessly behind. They keep emailing home, emailing counselors, emailing everybody, and because I'm required to hold them accountable for their work, but anyway.
Well, and I read somewhere too, like, this is different than like your normal online teaching because people choose to do online classes. These children have not chosen this. We have not chosen this. But then also, like, asynchronous is really how online is supposed to work, with like a quick synchronous check-in. I mean, that I'm taking college classes right now for my rank 1, and we do all of this asynchronous work, and then once every other week we get online and discuss what we've been reading and talking about. But it's not like every day. It's not even once a week. It's every other week do we meet, and then we're in breakout rooms like this so that we can talk. So I mean, we almost need to look at like programs that are working well, or we're doing this well before all of this started.
Yes, yeah.
And
best
then
practice.
Yeah, and then kind of take from that what we can get done, because I think, Lydia, you mentioned before, like, if they don't have technology, what do you
some
do
people
then?
have paper, so then what do you do? Yeah, I mean, I think Flipgrid looks great for when we're in school, but there's no way I'm going to go to the trouble to make Flipgrids when half or 75% of my kids can't access it. Like, it's not worth my effort to do that, and it's not fair.
Right.
So, Lydia, how do you get material back from your students?
Well, I would say about 30% turn it in online. I mean, I have Google Classroom set up, but most people turn it into the building. And then after so long,
we're going to head back to the main room now. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
And then they let us have it after a couple of weeks.
Are we in the small one or in the big one?
We're in the big one.
Okay.
You had 60 seconds to finish that thought.
I stopped because it went away.
I know. There's no good way to end the breakout rooms. I sent out the little 2-minute warning, but if you don't see it, it only pops up really small on the top.
Oh, mine popped up and stayed up.
Oh, did it? Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So I had a great discussion with Valle, and I wrote down so Valle, that's what I was doing when I was turning. I was writing your ideas down. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, please share.
Well, I'll let her share them because she did a better job of telling about what she did than I would do of repeating it. So she had some great ideas.
All right. We're back.
We're back. So we have about 7 minutes left, and we just wanted to take this time to kind of share out what you if you heard some really great ideas, if you didn't get to share something that you really wanted to share with your group, now's the time to do that. Just kind of circle back, I guess, and share out.
Well, I want to share something that's more a question. You know, people who are unfamiliar with some of the current technologies, like maybe effective use of Google Classrooms, or maybe even with Flipgrid or some other new technologies that you're not using. I wonder if we could have, you know, kind of a volunteer mentorship group from KWLA that would work one-on-one with people to try to help them figure out some things, because, you know, it helps to see it online in a group, but you know, when you're really setting it up, sometimes people need individual step-by-step help. So I'm wondering how we can, you know, kind of work on that.
And Jackie, I agree with you, because I know, like, my sister, who's a teacher in New York, when they told them that they were going to teach from home, and then they said they had to use Zoom, she had no clue. And I got on Zoom with her, and then, Google Classroom is what they had to use. And I literally went step by step on my screen so she could see how to use it. And that helped her. And then she was able to go back and teach the rest of the teachers that she worked with.
You know, and it's summer's coming up, so maybe some individual, you know, mentoring PD on that type of thing would be terrific during the summer to get ready for next year. Because like the people in my group said that they're really taking back a lot of new things to the classroom. And we want them to feel comfortable with what they're doing. So that would be great. Maybe Catherine, you could set up a few times that you could help people.
Jackie, here in Fayette County, Jeff Broyles send every day an invitation to learn technology. So they have a system every single day. I receive an email and you can join. I joined maybe 2 days ago. And Paula was teaching about Canvas, which is another topic that we don't use in elementary, but I wanted to learn since a year ago. And I thought, well, this is the right time to learn it. But they are teaching Flipgrid, because I have a student from Maxwell that he sent me all the work in Flipgrid every day.
Great. Great. You know, it works well in big districts, but when you're out in the state and you have a small district, you don't always have that opportunity to learn. So you are very lucky.
I agree.
Ben is testifying over in his video that is true.
Why is Ben in black and white?
It's just the poor quality of my camera.
I don't know, it looks kind of retro, kind of thing.
I swear this is not a filter. I mean, it's
it's the old TV, you know?
Why, thank you, Catherine. Yes, that's an apt description.
Hey, I'm looking at everybody as the Brady Bunch right now, so.
Right. Someone said that Belen had some good ideas. Belen, do you mind to share just a couple that you're doing right now?
Where is Belen? Oh, over there. Over that way. On my screen.
You're muted, so we can't hear you.
Oh, basically what I do is, like, every day I try to use visual support with my kids, but I mean in my classroom. Now it's like a little bit more complicated, but I try to use now Google Meet, so they can see like the same presentation and they have to try to answer back to me as well. But I use every day for the interpersonal mode of the language, visual support is going to be like only a few images. They have to answer back greetings, like they just say a picture of two people talking and they say, hola, buenos días, ¿cómo estás? I also use, they try to read a story in the classroom. They have them the next day to put the same story in order, and they have to write questions about this, like it's like reading comprehension, and they have to try to write questions about this story as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
But my colleague, she used like better things than me, not me. She inspired me, but I know that she's using really good things. I can see her.
Yeah, Ed Puzzle was another one that was mentioned on Tuesday. That's a really great one where you upload a video and you can add comments, you can add questions, you can have students respond, and it records all of the answers for you, who answered what, when. That's a really good one.
Something I did to help in kind of the same way with like getting my kids ready for their tests that I had them do. As I said in my breakout room, I was not very keen on getting through interpersonal in this time because I didn't have a whole lot of tools, or I didn't kind of think about how I could make that work at this point in time, what access I had currently. But I've had some ideas since being here in this session today, so thank you all. But one of the things I did to help with prepare my students for the presentational mode was I used Screen Castify, which I'm sure some of you have heard of. But I was able to record myself talking over my like a Google slide presentation with vocabulary, and I was able to kind of model for them using the language, and giving them a model to follow, how to set kind of talking about myself, and giving them something to use to kind of reference when helping them be able to put together a message about themselves. I think it worked fairly well for the last 2 rounds that I've done. And I uploaded that, of course, to Google Classroom, and they were able to access that and use this practice. And then I did a Flipgrid where they could post their videos so that I could see the finished product, and see how they did after me, so that's just one thing I've used.
And it looks like we have some more ideas too. Thank you, Ben, for sharing in the chat with Goose Chase. Yeah, equity is always a thing. That's one reason why we shared a low-tech and a high-tech strategy today. But that's something, that's always, especially these days, is going to be an issue. It is 4:01, so technically the end of our time. We're hoping to do this again next week, correct, Jackie?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Again, Tuesday and Thursday, right?
Yes. So Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoons.
Bring a glass of wine.
Listen, we can start.
Right.
You never know what you have inside a mug,
That's right.
Catherine, are you needing an excuse to drink? I mean,
Quiet. So,
but if you have any ideas of something specific that you would like to learn, or to have somebody present on, shoot us an email soon, and we can see if we can find somebody to present on it.
ooh, I like that. Someone said culture in the chat box.
yes, I think equity, I think culture. There's a lot of things. And I know a lot of people are ending school here soon, but the reality is we don't know what the fall is going to look like. So it's always good to be talking these things out and, getting prepared for what's to come.
Right.
Yes.
So
For sure. Somebody asked about a webinar that you did a few weeks ago, Jackie.
Remind me, I did a webinar last night for University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Allie Muller had some doctoral students that needed something about intercultural communication, but keeping track, what did I do before that? Remind me,
man.
I think you've lost track of how many webinars you've done.
Yeah, well, that might be.
And you're somebody who could not be blamed or faulted for that.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming today.
Gracias.